Welcome back for a new top 10 list. This time we are looking at my personal, as of right now, top 10 favorite Microsoft console exclusives of all time. So that is including original Xbox 360 and One. So with that said, and these were originally released physically and stuff exclusively to Microsoft. Keep that in mind. So with that said, we have a couple honorable mentions. First up, Fable 2, Halo 2, Blinks the Time Sweeper, a criminally underrated platformer. Also, Condemned, a underrated survival horror game. So, with that said, first up we have at number 10, and there is one tie on this list. So, with that said, keep in mind this is also my own personal opinion on Xbox games. So with that said, coming in at number 10 is probably a bit of a hot take, but with that said, for me at number 10, a favorite Xbox console exclusives. For me, coming at number 10 is Fable 3. I know, bit of a hot take. Fable 3 is my second favorite of the Fable franchise, and I will die on this hill stating that. That is one of my hot takes when it comes to games that I am willing to defend to my dying breath, and this is one of those games that I will defend forever. I think it's a lot of fun, and the fact that I've beat the game 7 or 8 times, beginning to end, should say something. Also, the soundtrack is superb and great, brings back some of the classic music, and adds some new stuff, and all around, I just really enjoy, and I love how overpowered you can get. And I know some people want higher difficulty and stuff, but with that said, I still enjoy it, even for the how cheap and overpowered you can get, and you can eventually basically own everything. I find that fun. For me, though, coming at number 9, even though it's technically a bundle, strictly this. Coming at number 9 for me is Rare Replay. Now, if you're a fan of Rare growing up as I was, with specifically games like Perfect Dark, as well as games like Killer Instinct Gold, also games like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and a hot take I will also defend, Nuts and Bolts. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I did compare to the original games, I get it, but still, I think it's an okay game for what it is. But that's my number 9. Coming in at number 8 is arguably, in my opinion, the top 3 best games in the Halo franchise, for me personally. Coming in number 8 favorite Xbox console exclusive is Halo 3 ODST. This game is superb and great. I love it. I like it more than Halo 2 or original Halo 3. Now, I will say, next to this, probably pretty close, almost at the same level, this I hold. Also, Halo Reach is another superb great game in the series, but for me, ODST just holds a special place. And I think that's the way it is with quite a few Halo fans. This game holds a special place for a lot of us. Coming next at number 7, from Insomniac Games, and arguably one of the key reasons to even own a X1, and that is Sunset Overdrive, done by Insomniac Games, a superb game. I would argue it's probably my top 5 favorite Insomniac games of all time. It is easily in my top 5, if not top 3 favorite X1 games of all time. But with that said, yeah, of console exclusives, it comes in at number 7 because I love this game. And it was the first game I would actually ever own for the Xbox One. So with that said, love it for what it is, regardless of some opinions. Coming at number 6 is a tie. The only tie on the list. Coming at number 6 is the tie between the heralded, beloved Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and tied with at number 6 is Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, as Morrowind would be my first introduction into the Elder Scrolls universe. This game specifically holds a real special place for me personally, and I think it does for a lot of people. Is there a lot of frame rate issues? Oh, you betcha. Just like original vanilla version Fable 1. There's some serious frame rate problems with the game, but I still love it for the over top cheesiness and stuff as it is. I will argue, I actually greatly, this is my favorite of the series. And I've played the online, I've played Oblivion and Skyrim. I'll be honest, I think Skyrim is overrated. I actually like Oblivion over Skyrim, but Morrowind remains my favorite of the series of all time, and it probably will. Nostalgia factor, heavily, yes. With that said, coming at number 5, one of the key reasons to have originally owned an original Xbox was for number 5, and that is Panzer Dragoon Orta. Speaking as a longtime fan of the Panzer Dragoon series going back to the Saturn, and in fact, 3 Panzer Dragoon games are in my top 10 favorite Saturn games of all time. Of course, Panzer Dragoon Orta is going to be easily my favorites from Xbox of console exclusives. And the fact you can still play backwards compatibility today on X1 and stuff, that is awesome. For me, this game is gorgeous, and in fact, this was one of the few games on the original Xbox you could actually play in 720p resolution on the original Xbox, which is crazy. You could actually play this in that resolution. But this definitely, in my opinion, is one of the key reasons to have owned an original Xbox in the first place, was for this game alone. The amazing soundtrack, the beautiful scenery and everything. Now, not sure if this is a hot take or not, but for me, coming in at number 4, favorite Microsoft or Xbox exclusive game of all time. For me, coming at number 4 is Halo Combat Evolved. It is easily my favorite of the Halo franchise, always will be. I don't think Halo 1 will ever be dethroned as my personal favorite of all time. Though I love 3 ODST and other Halo games quite a lot, still nothing has ever seemed to really surpass the first game for me, especially the introduction of the Flood and many other elements. Just loved it. Certain moments in the game, it felt less like an action shooter and more of a survival horror, and that was pretty cool. Coming in at number 3 was one of the first 3 games I ever owned on the original Xbox, and still holds a heavy nostalgia to this day. For me, coming at number 3 favorite Microsoft console exclusive of all time, Jet Set Radio Future. It remains one of my favorites and always will. This game has aged surprisingly well thanks to the cel-shaded art style. Like with Wind Waker and many other cel-shaded games, it allows it to age much better than others. For me, overall, at the end of the day, original Xbox games are still great, and I think it is a somewhat criminally underrated console. More people should collect for, especially given the prices are still very reasonable for the most part. But with that said, coming at number 3 is Jet Set Radio Future, and the soundtrack alone made it up there. Coming at number 2 for me is Killer Instinct. Yes, arguably, hands down, unrivaled, my number 1 favorite game on the Xbox One. Nothing even comes close. This is a console selling exclusive in my personal opinion. I love KI. I still constantly, occasionally here and there, upload gameplay of matches and stuff I've been having. Best 2 out of 3s and stuff. I just enjoy sharing gameplay and stuff, and I still find the game fun, and the fact there's actually a patch update coming, some buffs and stuff. I'm going to be curious to see how it affects the gameplay, but overall, this is a game that I think anyone who owns an Xbox One needs to try this, especially if you're an old school fan of classic style arcade fighting games and stuff. But with superb netcode, this really was one of the originators of rollback, and really the whole DLC model for fighting games moving forward. Really, KI was a trendsetter in many ways, besides also really helping the rise of a certain YouTuber by the name of Maximilian Dude. But with that said, is my second favorite. My number one favorite should be easy to figure out as the music in the background. I've been playing the whole video. Is Oakvale. Shouldn't be surprised. Coming at number one is the original Fable, as Fable 1 is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. Maybe even top 5 of all time. But regardless, it is easily my number one favorite original Xbox game. It's my favorite overall Xbox console exclusive game of all time. And nothing will ever, and I can say never, nothing will ever surpass Fable 1 for me as a somewhat heavy, blinded nostalgia and everything. But Fable 1, there's just something special about the game. But I could say the same thing. There's also something special about Fable 3 that captured certain elements of Fable 1, I think, better than Fable 2 did. Honestly, definitely more of the willingness to experiment with magic and other stuff I actually appreciate. Plus, Jack of Blades, I actually think, is a solid overall villain. Honestly, I think a somewhat maybe underrated villain. Really fun overall. The introductions, first time fighting a Balverine, or ending up in the Chapel of Scorn, or the Temple of Alvo. There's just a lot of great stuff, and also for the first time, hanging out and stuff in the guild. I just love it overall, especially shooting lightning bolts out of your hand till your enemy's like head pops off and you just kick it. That's why I love the weird, twisted sense of humor in the game, especially the very much you can tell this game's humor was very much heavily influenced by amazing movies like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, one of the greatest comedies of all time. No one can ever definitely go against that as far as I'm concerned. One of the greatest comedies ever made. And you can really tell a lot of that humor played out in the Fable games, especially Fable 1. And I liked a bit of experimental darker tone with Fable 3. But for me, Fable 1 will always remain one of my all-time favorite RPG experiences. It really was, you had to be there at the time, really. But I will never forget my first time playing this game. And I have to thank my longtime best friend, CJ. Thank you for getting me actually into playing Fable in the first place. With that said, I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe out there in YouTube land. And have a good rest of the holiday season.